plant rice through trials to showcase its potential of growing rice without the need for excessive water, proving that even the most challenging landscapes could be transformed into thriving rice fields. With the looming pressing concern of water scarcity, the project also undertook a trial to find the perfect balance, optimizing water usage without compromising the health and yield of the rice crop.
So what we have with us at the moment is evaluating what we call the intermittent watering regimes. And in here, we are comparing two particular water regimes where, in summary, it's about provision of water and then withdrawing water when the plants do not actually require a lot of water. There are three trials within this field. So we have one major treatment where we are using the farmer's common method, where he has water in the field all season round, compared to another where it's alternate wetting and drying. We have short periods of dryness with another short, followed by a shorter period of wetting over the whole season production. And then another one where we think in the middle of the season, you just withdraw water for a short period of time, and then the crop continues. Now, in doing that, we are comparing all those against three common varieties. And this also serves as a demonstration, really. We are introducing the new rice varieties into the region, one of which is an aromatic one. The other is a commonly recently released one, Apasi 39, which is aromatic, narrow rice one, which is also one of our own, and then the farmer's own rice variety, which is Wita 9. So we are trying to evaluate how the three varieties respond under different watering regimes. And then it has been documented, really, that when you withdraw water and control its availability, it actually also enhances the health. All greenhouse gases are reduced, which normally damage our cotton layer. So if we can adapt some of these technologies, especially the intermittent watering regimes, it means more water will be available for production, but at the same time we are reducing our negative effects on our environment, and yet without affecting the productivity.
My name is Rachel Ajambo Musasizi. I work with Kilimo Trust as the country team leader for Uganda. And in Uganda, we are implementing the reduce, recycle, rice initiative for climate smart agriculture. This project is a 5-year project funded by ICARE Foundation. And we are now in year 1 of implementation of this project. This program is quite exciting for us, because it looks at aspects of regenerative agriculture that many programs right now are trying to incorporate in the value chain development. We are looking at the rice sector as a vehicle to agro-industrialization in Uganda, and we are looking at also job creation. So we are developing innovations and innovative products that can be uptaken by private sector. Products like biochar and its use in improving productivity and also helping crops to weather climate vagaries, like, for example, extreme drought. And we are doing this in rice and in coffee. So we are doing this for rice in Butaleja district, Tororo district, and Kwen. And in Kwen, we are working in Ngenge irrigation scheme. In Butaleja, we are working in Doho 2 and Doho 1 irrigation scheme. And in Tororo, we are working in smallholder farmers' fields and also promoting upland rice production. For us, as Kilimo Trust, this project is really key, as it is going to contribute to fulfilling one of our strategic objectives of looking at sustainable communities, sustainable development for communities. We would like to thank ICARE Foundation for giving us the opportunity to not only fulfill our mandate as Kilimo Trust of where we exist, but to also giving us the opportunity to contribute to such an important topic such as climate change adaptation. We also want to partners, that our implementing partners, Cultural Crop Resources Research Institute, especially the rice breeding program, led by Dr. Jimmy Lamo. We also want to thank our partners, Buginyanya, the Zono Agricultural Research and Development Institute, for working with us, because these are the two research institutions under NARO, the National Agricultural Research Organization, that are actually enabling us to implement this project.
Our gratitude and thanks to the IKEA Foundation for funding this project and to Kilimo Trust for implementing the project. In the heart of eastern Uganda, where lush green fields stretch far and
Thank you. Thank you very much, the ICT team, for that video, the first set and the second set. It's really, really captivating, if I were to be very sincere to myself, that all that is happening within a short period of time. And it's good that having seen all that, we can identify what needs to be done extra and what needs to be actually pushed forward for more success. Now, the fact that we are in the scientific phase, that's why you are seeing that more of experimental part of it. And then, as Rachel had in the video, that there is the backing part of the business component. What extra thing can be done to bring money into circulation through all this? Thank you very much. Now, as we continue with the program, we are now setting into a new phase whereby we are going to have presentations from our research partners. And for now, we are welcoming Mr. Etiang Joseph, our Reverend, to make his presentation on both rice and coffee through the application of biochar and vermicast. Welcome.
Yeah. Morning once again. When I was looking at the videos, I felt like presentation was already done. We needed to discuss. But I'm happy to meet all of you. I'm Joseph Etiang, as I already introduced myself, working with Naro Buginyanya. And on the trials, of course, you're aware that when we went to Kenya and came up with those protocols, I was given the task to handle the issue and the issue of the biochar. So in this event, we are going to share the progress so far we have done on the vermicompost production and also the biochar. Right. So I think you can move forward. Next slide. I know a lot has been said about rice, its importance. Of course, as we are trying to address the issue of the so addressing the rice straw, which we see heaps, which farmers do not know what a lot of, like one of the colleagues said, when you go to this farmers do not have other alternatives, but they decide just to burn. And when you burn nutrients, you lose value of these materials. And of course, you cause a lot of challenges in the environment. So as a research institute, together with all our partners, we decided to work with Kilimo and many other partners to come up with alternative ways to see how we can help the farmers in handling the issue of rice straw and rice husks. And on the straw, we are looking at returning it back to the soil. And while even on the biochar, we are seeing how do we utilize this for the benefit of farmers. So when we came up with the protocols, there were two protocols. One of it was evaluation of rice straw composting methods on soil health and crop yields. The other one was with the main objectives to undertake composting of rice straw to improve soil health and fertility for sustainable rice production. The other one was sustainable utilization of biochar also to improve crop production. Because of course the two crops we are handling is rice and coffee. So aware that the soil issue where we are moving actually in East Africa, we have to think about the soil. Many people do not understand the soil when it comes to plants. If we do not feed the plant well, then we have not yet started. There are many things in soil, maybe about 17 nutrients that the crop will need. If it is not there, whether you have a good breed, a good what, if you do not feed it well, definitely you do not get something. So when we looked at this protocol, I know like members there were a few changes because you look at a protocol which was developed, you find there were many projects within that protocol. If you had to look at critically, you will find that you will have work which you will not even complete. So we focused on the vermi, composting, and also the biochar. We can move to the next. So these were some of the planned activities: vermicomposting, and then we also planned for the trials. After producing that vermicompost, we tried it in the crops. Those are the trials that we set up to check this product. Will it be good for the farmers? So the process, you'll understand it. Then, of course, the vermi trials on rice and the mature coffee. And then we also did that media you are growing the seedlings. When you put biochar, how will it help these young coffee seedlings? And then also the newly established coffee, and we're also trying to see the mature coffee. Like I said earlier that this may not, the biochar or the rice straw or vermicompost may not have maybe 100% of the nutrients that the crop will need, but there are other benefits, probably the physical aspects, or even holding the nutrients when you put the fertilizer there. These could be the areas that we may go to the next, that we may need to look into. So in the vermicomposting procedure we adopted, of course, this was our procedure. You assembled the materials, and basically here we're using rice straw and the cow manure. For some areas, in case a farmer has got the green leaf vegetables, he can add to this rice straw because the CN ratio of this rice straw is higher. That means microbes or whatever will take long to decompose. But if you reduce the CN ratio by either adding the green or cow dung, you find that the process of decomposing it is increased. So here we deployed a machine that shredded to first cut this rice straw, and then we also weighed the materials. We adopted a 1-to-1 ratio, one by weight. We weighed 100 kgs of, and also of cow dung, and then that is what we mixed. Like I said, materials, straw 50%. In case of areas where you have the green whatever, you'd put green 30% of cow green manure, and then the 20. But in our case, we used 50 straw, 50 the cow dung by weight, 50%. And then we have another partner called Vermipro. I don't know whether they are around here. They have developed some microorganisms which are diluted, 1 liter diluted into 20 liters of water. And this is what is first sprayed after the mixing. It is sprayed. And this contains living microbes that will help the decomposition process. As we are first producing that, what we call pre-compost, before you go to composting. That pre-compost is what you spray, and then you mix all it up, and after every 2 days, we turn. The farmer turns it, mix, and in case you keep it at the moisture content of 40 to 60, so that is field capacity, not too much water, not again. And then we also keep it at that. Keep turning, and then what we are producing here as the pre-compost is what we are going to use to feed the worms. It will be food for the worms. Then after they defecate, that is what will be the manure that we are calling vermicompost or vermicast. These are some of them. So the pre-compost is usually left for about 2 weeks. After turning, you turn it for about 2 weeks. Then it will be ready now to deploy in the vermicomposting units. You load in these boxes. We have about 4 layers of 4 boxes. And you see, we deploy, according to the recommendation, 10% of the worms to compost. But in this case, we deployed around 7 kgs of the worms in one of the lower boxes. After 2 weeks, you deploy. You load the pre-compost in that lower box, and you apply the worms. And then after that 14 days, you add another box. I don't know whether you are following it. First box, pre-compost has taken 14 days, bring it here. Within the next 14 days, the worms will have eaten that other first box you fed. And of course, they keep multiplying. And then we put the second box, and we also load the pre-compost. You know the other pre-compost? We load it again to fill that other second box. The worms will move from down to the top, the second layer of the boxes, because that is where food is. The other side, it is finished, and it will also eat up. And another 2 weeks, then we load a third one till we reach the fourth layer. So you find that as they move down is ready compost. You can harvest it at any time. So next. So that compost that we produce, we actually set the sites in Tororo, Butaleja, and Queen District, and then Buginyanya, Zadi. So that compost is what we try on rice, and also try it on coffee. So in this case on rice, we basically came up with the treatments. First of all, to know how do we optimize this compost? What is it? Which one is better? Which quantity of this compost? Because we didn't know. So we decided to set up quantities that were applied at that rate, 0.5 ton per hectare, 1 ton per hectare with double. Because we want to see how that curve, what is the optimum. That's why we're doubling. We need to see where does that curve bend. Then we know this is the optimum rate. So when we get that, then we shall be able to talk about what recommendation, what is better. Of course, you're aware that this This will help a farmer to know what he has to apply as far as the pre-compost, the vermicompost is concerned. So these are some of the fields. Okay, the photo of somebody who helped in soil sampling up there, a technician from Makerere. And this is also down Dominic, one of our technicians who helps us in Bukijali. Next. So on mature copy as well, we decided to set up this trial with the 5 treatments. In the same arrangement, we decided to raise per tree the rate we want to see of this, what would be the best option if we are to apply the vermicast to the coffee trees. But of course, we do this in Buginyanya and also Upper Queen. Upper Queen we have 1 farmer, and then Buginyanya also we have 1 farmer. In each of those we have the replications in those sites. So on this and the rice, we collected some data. Unfortunately, we have not yet analyzed. We are entering it. I believe in the next what we should be having some preliminary information how far these responses are concerned. Next. However, on coffee, before I move maybe on coffee, you note that coffee is a perennial crop, and it takes almost a year for us to harvest. And our trial started after this coffee had already flowered. We need to start early in January when the flowering is being initiated, such that we get the full benefit of this application. So we hope something will come, because there were some berries, but we need to start early such that we get it well. Next. This is also rice biochar, where we set the nurseries, that is in Tororo. And this is what we did. Those were the varieties we used. Land preparation and nurseries were set up, and planting at 21 days. All these were done, and soil samples were also collected. Yet results, Makerere is yet to give us the results, and we shall know what will happen. So on a biochar in the nursery, this is what we did. There were 2 types of biochars, I told you, plain and then fortified, which was done by one of our partners. So we made the media, the soil, instead of just a farmer using soil. This is the treatments we came up with. Soil proportion. As you reduce the soil proportion, you are adding the biochar, depending on the biochar, either plain or and this was the ratios. If you are taking 4, if you need only the soil, you see 4 there will be no biochar. If you are taking 3 kgs of soil, you put 1 kg of particular biochar. Those are the ratios. And this is how we came up with the treatments. And these treatments, the 5 treatments, were arranged in a way that the watering regimes, because we also want to see, is this biochar holding water, helping the nurseries to hold water? So the farmer in his routine had watering daily in the morning. Actually, watering was daily in the morning and also evening. He waters daily. That was his routine before the biochar and so on. So we decided to introduce other 2 water regimes, where we have the plants he will be watering daily in the morning, and then also the plants that will be watering after every 3 days, morning and evening. His routine, but he delays, he does. So we have arranged that, And then this is what we have in the nursery. Of course, we had some bit of death here and there. We need to gap fill here and there. So that is what we have. Already in, this is done in Bulambuli, one of the nurseries that was identified. So data, we started to pick some data on growth, height, here and there. So we are yet to continue. Next. Biochar and Younger coffee. Younger coffee is the coffee that we planted directly in the field from the nursery. The field is planted, and the treatments of different biochars, the plain, are also in that rate. These are in grams per tree, per hill, that hole there. That is the biochar that we applied. That is done in Upper Queen, including the biochar types. Of course, we have started to take some preliminary data, the height, number of leaves here and there. So we need to, routine monitoring needs to be done continuously. And this also needs to do a bit of gap filling because we lost some of the seedlings. Continue. Next. This is mature coffee in Queen. And this is also what we have, the two types of biochar, and also we have the 5 rates that were applied. These other colorings is just to help us. The orange ribbon will tell us that plot is the control, so that it is easy for any farmer and even us when we go to identify. Yellow is the one which received hurry. So we're looking at getting those cows. What is the maximum? So data also was picked recently, and we are working on to enter that data. I believe before maybe the next, we should have had what. But of course, there were some challenges. Like I said here, insufficient to accommodate the 3 reps. In coffee, you find they are small units. But this is also being done in Upper Queen on biochar. Thank you. Next one. Of course, we met some challenges. Poor water management in some of the sites was observed, and some as farmers release water anyhow. There is no proper, you find that water has been released too much. So, and also some sites, we had a challenge, failure to pay the water user fees, especially for in those some irrigation schemes like Queen. It affected, it delayed us. So one of the sites actually we had to cut down because water was not enough. We had to reduce the size further. So those are some of the challenges. Then we also experience some inadequate water in Tororo. Even in Queen, there were some challenges in water. Then I also noted delay in some activity executions. Especially, I've already told you that the coffee flowering stage starts early. So our resources started flowing after it had already. So we need to, as we go in for the second, we need to do early such that we do all this. The nature of the agreements also, maybe we need either to share with these farmers, because it looks like when we started the work, the farmers take it like, my garden has been hired, so I pull out, I leave almost. So it was not owning the trial really. It is like we have taken over, which was a bit challenging for us. You go there, is not there, you're not bothered. We need to see how do we make sure that this farmer, what will make these farmers own this thing? Is it the final harvest? Is it something that they know that I have really to commit to manage this? Because we cannot be there all the time. They have to be there. So then, so we felt also that before going to the field, at least maybe if resources are processed fast before, other than go, then you wait. There were those challenges we faced. Of course, I also noted on-farm trial management always has challenges. You know, if it is a on station, you find that you know when you need to do certain things that are here and there. So, but down there, water can be opened anyhow. You are not in touch. So those challenges, especially in the paddy field, were a bit tricky. Next. So this is the product that we came up with after the other one farmers we were working to shred the straw. This is the threaded straw, at least to break it down. Then you mix with cow dung and you come up with that product. That is actually the vermicompost that is produced. And we have it in Bugizadi. And samples have been taken for analysis. And the preliminary results show that this product has got fairly higher pH than. It is high pH 8, 9, which means when these things pass the worms system, something happens. So which is telling us that this thing could even be having some liming effect, probably if tried. For soils that are becoming acidic, it could be one of the products that could help, but needs of course to be tested as far as liming is concerned. So, but the preliminary analysis shows the pH of this thing is higher. So of course, when you look at that product, we need further, maybe we need some sieve to clean some of the remaining things, so that when the product is finally, when we get results on its performance, we can be able to kind of package it and farmers can access. Next. So these are some of the activities we're doing. And then the other thing that I note is we also went for agricultural show and we took vermicompost as well. We had it in the container and many farmers were interested in knowing to know what this thing can do. As you see that photo, that is the chairman, Narrow Governing Council, who came to where we had those products. So we need to see how this product can be taken further, because I hear you may need to involve others when we get the results, do the analyze, then also those other UN whatever, to make sure that the product really provides what it says. Next. So these were some preliminary activities when we're doing the nurseries and so on. And what I was taking, coffee plant starts flowering earlier, so we need to capture application early. So we align it such that the flowering is covered as well. Continue. So this is the same photo I think we've already seen. Then we also had the parliamentary council, the parliamentary committee on agriculture that visited, and they saw some of these products and they were wondering what it can be. Next. So generally the trials were set up in all the sites and minor improvements. I know you will keep on adding as well improvements. So improvement of our working relationship with farmers, I've already mentioned it, so that they own the activities. And then we need to also expedite the process of having these socioeconomists begin to collect the data, so that we know when we are talking of the other rates, you may say 5 kgs give you the highest yield, but economically what happens? Maybe the 4,000 may be profitable to the farmer. So we need to have them engaged and then improve on the timeliness of the operations. We need to set up the trials on station. Particularly I was identifying on our case, Ikule, we have some irrigation facility there. So on rice, because we can't put in Buginyanya, I really needed, I think I may need to have something like that, a backup. Then I see that we may need to look forward for long-term effects of these rice waste products. For example, biochar. If you don't get its benefits immediately, can we maintain those plots so that when we go next time, we see next season what happens? So next, I think that is, so these are some of the activities that we are planning. Still, data collection is going to continue, and entry and analysis, production of vermicompost continues, in those sites. We are about to also start harvesting the rice, especially for those sites. Soil sampling at harvest, we also need to take some samples. I've already mentioned about the socio-whatever economics, the monitoring and so on, and probably preparation for the second season. So we're really grateful to Kilimo Trust, all the partners, the government, and all of you for support, the agriculturists. I see Bongomin there. Naro, where I work, particularly director. Director actually surrendered one of the vehicles. It almost became the our field vehicle. So we appreciate you for that. And many other colleagues, Dr. Kagoda, Dr. Kaira, who have stood with me in all this. So may God bless you for God and my country.
Welcome, sir. Thank you very much, Reverend Joseph Etiang. Can we give him another round of applause? Thank you very much, sir. For what Reverend has actually presented, that has actually took him real time. It has been treacherous, and in many occasions, I know he has been taking most of his time, even at night when we have our own chat over the WhatsApp platform. We've been talking much more on what's happening in the field and how to generate more of such reports. I'm also very happy. We can't go without recognizing his assistant, Mr. Dominic. Dominic who? Elimu. Yes. So Dominic Elimu, in working with him hand to hand from time to time, toe to toe, until we are getting these things done the way they are. Thank you very much, Reverend. Now, in the session that we are getting into, for what has already been shown and presented, there are those things that we are thinking that we can see and we can probably discuss. Most of them scientific, touching on the issue of the real science behind the replications and all that, the seed varieties, and also the development of the materials themselves. So we are having two microphones. One of us will be going around with the microphone to any person with any question, any suggestion, any contribution. One of us, Mr. Joseph Orende, will be picking the questions, and then we support Joseph Etiang, the Reverend, in how we can now discuss more about them. Yes. Karibu sana.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Mr. Presentation. All protocol observed. My name is Mohammed Sekatawa. I work for Diners Group Limited. Diners is a private company in the Processing Valley. Mr. Etiang, my interest I would like to know the cost benefit analysis for the trials which have been ongoing, because Diners has a network of about 5,000 smallholder farmers, but I'm sure none has been part of these trials and would like to interest them in these technologies. So how much is the input and what would be the output in terms of money? Because if you want to interest the farmer in something, there should be always a profit. Thank you.
Yes, any other question? Yes, Moses.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
All protocols observed. Joseph, in your presentation, you had mentioned about some challenge you faced with the farmers where they have given out that plot. They feel probably it belongs to Naro or Kilimo Trust because maybe they have been compensated something to use their plots for these trials. But specifically on the issue of vermicompost, whereas we are doing these other scientific trials to come up with data and some reports to have recommendations to benefit all the farmers, would you think it is good for us to encourage these farmers, especially those who are hosting the vermicomposting site, that they don't need to produce this and just keep and wait for market or wait for Vermipro to buy this, repackage and come back to sell to them, that they can try out on their own, maybe to use on their vegetables, in their rice fields, in their maize gardens, not necessarily waiting only for these trials. At least we can have those other extra evidences as we move along. Thank you.
Thank you, presenter. Mine are not questions as such, but just observations. The first one is to do with the mature coffee, where we apply the treatments. I would have loved to see the baseline data since the coffee was already there. If it wasn't taken, then I think it's a misnomer which we need to work on, since these were already mature plants. Then the other observation is the vermicompost being at a high pH, yet we know very well that coffee thrives best under low acidity. So we need to have an explanation for that. Thank you.
Thanks, Joseph. Mine is just a positive observation on the research. We know that the store of rice has been reported to have allelochemicals. That is a condition where a chemical is produced in a chemical warfare to prevent other upcoming crops. We see it in pine, we see it in eucalyptus trees. Research indicates rice is also such a crop. And one of the recommendations to overcome this is to use organic materials. It is very good. We are using the biochar and vermicomposts, which probably will not only work as a nutrient, but also chelate the allele compounds, and increase the yield of rice. Thanks for that trial.
Thank you for the suggestion. Thank you for the support.
Okay, thank you. This is Alex Odundo. Now, I just wanted to know, because according to my calculation, I don't know whether it is right or wrong, is about 200 kg for 1 acre. And now my question is, how many boxes do you need to make that amount of vermicompost? Maybe for a farmer who want to do that. And maybe the methods of applications, how do you apply it in your farm?
Okay, let's take the last two.
Yeah.
Turning from to a researcher is in two areas on the issue of ownership. It looks like we focus so much on the head of household. It seems little is being done to spouses. I wish we need to involve the entire family, where land has been hired for these demonstrations, so that if the gentleman is not around, the other members of the family step in, so that there is no vacuum created in the demonstration sites. Two, on the rice farmers, most of our farmers are still practicing chop and plant. or broadcast. Here we are for that practice where farmers broadcast or chop and plant, subject to these treatments also, because tomorrow when you want to upscale these technologies, some farmers take it up seriously. Okay? That is my view. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All protocols observed. My name is Joyce Kamande. I'm from Kenya. For hay and for animal consumption. So my concern was, is it a competing kind of alternative for the farm fields or for the animal feeds? And if it is, which have in
Thanks for the presentation. I have two questions. One, are you looking at the feasibility of the plant after you have added vermicompost? Then the physio. Then the other thing is what is the effect on the soil microorganism composition of the vermicompost? Does it improve? Does it change? I don't know.
Maybe the last one in this set.
Thank you very much, Mr. Joseph, for presentation. I'm Michael from Kenya, and I am interested to know the comparative difference of using that byproduct in terms of impact on yield, because most of the farmers basically, as you have said, it may act as one of the lines, but on the other hand, as my brother had also commented, they also look at the economic part of it. So could it be you could have, along your presentation, could have given us, based on the comparative application of that product to the crop, how did it impact in terms of yield? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Tim, for asking those questions and contributing. And it's my sincere request that there are quite a number, up to 9, okay? So what you can do, instead of actually overburdening the reverend with answering all this, because we are actually on a brainstorming session, and people have got so much to contribute, okay? So if, as Reverend will be answering most of them, we allow any other person to give an extra contribution if you think and if you observe somewhere that whatever thing that is being answered, there is the component that you can still answer, so that all of us on board.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your comments, questions, and input. I start with Mohammed. He was asking about cost-benefit analysis for trials. I think this is what we are planning to start handling. When I mentioned about that research economics, we have one officer who is going to help us to collect data on how did you plan the costs then till the sale. And I think he will give us a good. As actually you have, maybe as we go along, may also benefit from this. But we are planning to do the cost-benefit analysis of all the trials. Most asking about the compensation issue. Yeah, it is good. I think that is what we are planning to interest these farmers to the the trainings. We're trying to develop training materials. So when we are training them, I believe we have to interest them first of all to use the product, and then later, if there are those that will need, then they can sell, but they should them who are having this baseline data, Dr. Kagoda. I believe I will need to follow this also, but we also have a control where we are not applying anything, but we shall still also do maybe a lot of literature to find what is on the baseline. On acidity, we shall definitely find out whether really when you apply the vermi compost, will it reduce the yield, or because sometimes this acidity it may come as a result of the plant extracting a lot of basic ensuring that this is controlled, maybe provided through organic materials. We shall be able to know really where the vermicompost was applied and where it was not. How did it perform? Maybe this will inform. But thank you for that, because it a low acidity and coffee. Thank you for that supplement. Anna, as Dr. Moses was talking about this, it was like maybe a need for another study on the issues of allelopas of rice and use of vermi. But that will be decided. But I see that as coming. You know, whatever we have put, there are many studies within there. You can't do all at once. So, but I think he's suggesting something on that. Method of application, we have been doing basal application, where we apply at the time of planting for rice. Although that has been what we have been, but you know, as you transplant, the roots take time to first establish. We're just trying to see, it could be good maybe when these roots are established, then you apply. But so far, we are putting at basal. During the time, we mix with the soil, and then we apply. So the quantities, this way, like if you looked at there, maybe a half a ton, that you can be able to produce within maybe, talk of 1 or 2 months. Because the rate at which these worms eat is actually faster. Because we had a challenge even to provide nutrients for these worms. You put, they are already consuming. So within 2 months, the farmer can be, that is 1 unit, a box of about 1 cubic meter, which can give you at a harvest probably around 500 to 600 kgs. That is already half a ton. So if you have maybe 1 or 2 units, continuously the manure will be produced. But we are going, of course, to do the cost benefit and see really which one, and seeing where do we cut down the cost, if that informs us. So DPO has also advised that we need to involve all the members of the family, because we realize, like in Queen, I think this, of course, you find the woman was not involved. And I think at one point, members had said the woman showed interest that she could be part of the trial. We take note of that, probably the gender issues, and may improve on this. Then rice farmers still practice broadcasting. Probably in the next round, we can propose that as one of the treatment, the broadcasting bit. But we encourage all of them to move to transplanting. And then rice hay, we had part of there was a protocol that was developed on feeding, the livestock feed. So probably that could handle the issue of rice, hay, and animal feed. But for us at this level, we can probably consider getting to know the biomass, the above ground biomass, by weighing how much is produced when you use. Maybe that can feed on that kind of protocol. But there's somebody, I think, working on rice hay. And then physiology, microbes. The team from Makerere did a bit of, they collected some samples, which they are going to also give us some indicators on the population of the microbes. Although, you know, there are many plots, and if you just say you track some of these things, the cost of analysis, I believe Kilimo team has even seen that the cost of analysis alone, because there are many plots, and if you sample periodically, it will blow up there. So we're trying to see where do we sample and still get some. But then the other thing, I think we are doing some data on those gross parameters, the height, and we picked also some plant whatever to try to analyze the uptake of nutrients. There are some parameters that way, but of course we try to reduce kind of the routine nutrients uptake. We're trying to also identify that. I know that data may come maybe before we do the second review. Then Michael, compensating different what? Comparative differences on the yield particularly. One, the economic data will help us, but so far, actually, I think in 1 or 2 weeks' time we shall be harvesting, and we shall be able to get that yield. But for coffee, the harvesting might move maybe around October onwards. It delays a bit, but for rice, anytime our trials are getting ready. I think for now that is what I can respond, but thank you for really improving on this. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Reverend, for that reply. And we agree with him that for all that has already been said under those two protocols, and if you look deeply into what he has actually mentioned, he's only a bit be shy of telling you that this development of the vermicompost size, they are under key and lock because of how succulent and juicy those worms are. Somebody was telling me that they're actually expensive. When you set it up next to a fisherman's home, he will come for it. Yes. Now, if there is anybody with any point that concerns the same, yes.
You asking. I was just wanting to clarify 1 or 2 things. I thank all of you for the good questions, from Dinah to the last person. Yes, there are so many good questions up, but my thinking is that I think these were picked like what people normally call the low-hanging fruits. What can we evaluate for adaptation? Okay? Some good questions from Moses, from Frank, from Ephraim. I think us now as researchers, I think this comes back to us. Let's get what works. So then we shall ask ourselves, why does it work and how does it work? So for this, I think let's find out what works. Then the other, Ephraim, Frank, this, myself, we shall go back, and even the Kenyan team, how does it work and why does it work? I think that is not, yes, they are very good questions, but I think let this answer the question, does it work? And does it work positively? I like the questions of the economics. And the economics should not only be for vermicompost and batch across, even there are tuning, as I was talking about, even what Moses was talking about, the economics is very paramount, that if it doesn't make sense economically, it will not do. There are other things the Reverend talked about, but I don't know whether we shall have a session for discussions. Because one of the things, for instance, it talks of maintaining the plots even after the season. That one we need to get it clearly. Then there were issues, was talking of renting land. I've worked in this region for some time. There are areas where even our trials we first pay for hiring land because the value of land there is high. Populations are high. There are places where we don't pay for hiring land. Actually, even the farmers might even look for you to use their land for trials. So some of these are salient issues which the project team members need to discuss. So there are things which had put us in place, and I think we need to make some few recommendations on them so that moving forward, because we said we have come to reflect, so that when we move forward, next season it should be smoother. We don't want to hear these challenges again in the subsequent periods. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I just want to respond to the issue of broadcasting and line planting. It is our belief that row planting is superior to broadcasting. And if I get it correct, there is no way we could have tested vermicomposting with the form of planting, because you will have two variables, and therefore you may not know which variable has contributed to the good performance. All I can say is that after getting the results from vermicomposting, then probably in the demonstrations, we can also demonstrate under broadcasting and row planting for the farmers who have refused to adopt row planting. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Do you have any? Okay, good.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think this question will not go to Dr. Tiang and Joseph, but to Dr. Kahira. Dr. Kahira, I've heard rumors that you've been working on the allelopathy effects and basically the allelopathic characteristics of rice. Maybe you could share something, because it is about sharing and learning. Maybe we could get some insights into that work that you've been doing, which could be quite far away from what is within our project scope, but then we would benefit, because right here we have students, we have scientists, we have agronomists. We would want to hear what progress you are making on that front. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I'll be very brief. I did my PhD work in allelopathy in various crops, rice inclusive, allelopathy in maize, allelopathy in simbopogon, allelopathy in mokuna, and I profiled all the compounds in the root exudates and in the stover. And it is very true that most of the rice varieties we have are allelopathic. Allelopathy is nothing but it's a process, a chemical warfare by crops to live alone. They produce a chemical that try to prevent survival of competitors. That is what